It's only 6 minutes after 9, and we get into our roundtable discussion for this morning. And this morning, like I told you earlier, we're talking about the youth unemployment, underemployment, skills gap situation here in this country. We're looking at the youth vulnerabilities specifically along those lines. And so, first of all, did you know that nearly 90% of our population is under 35 years? 90% of our population is under 35 years. And usually we refer to that in economic terms as demographic dividend, which means that a huge opportunity for economic growth. But the challenge is that youth unemployment in Ghana still stands about, I think, about 13%. Last time I checked, more than double the national average. And we can talk about underemployment as well. Young people working fewer hours than they want, or in roles far below their training. And that affects even more quietly keeping our talent underutilized. And today we're talking about youth vulnerability and future of Ghana's labor market. We'll explore why so many young people or so many young Ghanaians struggle to find meaningful work, how shifts like automation and the gig economy are reshaping opportunity, and what can be done to turn this challenge into a real advantage for our country. Now, joining me now is an economist. His name is lawyer Daniel A. Enim Prempe. He is joining me to have this conversation. I'm also told that I've been joined by Dr. Aaron Kuma, who is also a senior labor lecturer at Amasted. Lawyer Daniel Prempe, good morning. Welcome to the Business Breakfast on Z. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, you're welcome to the Business Breakfast on Z.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Great. All right, please hold on for me. Dr. Kuma, good morning. Hello, Dr. Kuma. All right, I think we'll try and see if we can arrange with get him back on the line. But lawyer, we can start a conversation this morning. First of all, let me get your general reaction on the issue, the unemployment issue in our country. I mean, talking about unemployment, underemployment, skills mismatch, generally the labor market, especially as it affects young people. Let me hear your general reaction.
Right. Thank you very much. We are where we are today because of the lack of planning over the years. Over the years, when we talk of employment, the focus is on the adults, okay, in that category, 35 and above, the few people who are working in the formal sector. And that is where the focus lies. And if you look at even our labor law, you realize that there isn't any so much provision in terms of those operating in the informal sector. But I'm told the Labor Act is undergoing some review, which I'm of the view that will be considered. And the nature of our education system is also a factor. What we inherited from the colonial era, we're unable to radically change that to suit into contemporary times. So our education as it stands now is still bookish. Okay, you go to school, you read theories, you pass, you get your certificate, and then you move on. So over a period, we realize that the number of people that are coming out from the various tertiary institutions are more than the available jobs in the system. Okay, one of such reasons also that was cited has to do with the skills mismatch. Okay, so for instance, if you look at a person doing accounting, okay, you see the nature and the structure of accounting is such that the student should be exposed to practical. Okay, so the student learns the theoretical perspectives, then he should be exposed to the practical aspect of the learning. So by the time he's out of the institution, he's well equipped to be able to handle basic accounting duties and responsibilities. We don't have that in our system. I know some few institutions, the technical universities, those days used to, create platform for students to go on practical industrial attachment. I don't know whether that is still running. Okay, but it's a way of ensuring that students acquire some basic practical skills. Now, another area that even within the university community is the the policy now that every lecturer should have a PhD, which is very good because it has because of the research background. But my point is that a person teaching accounting should also have, we should have a hybrid, okay? People with a theoretical perspective. So you see somebody, his first degree, accounting master's, and going to the PhD, is teaching accounting without any practical experience, okay? So
right.
the research aspect of it is very good. But in that faculty, we ought to have another person who is a practitioner, a chartered accountant who may not have this academic degrees, with his practical perspective to be able to bring it on board, okay? And when we are teaching, those of us who have some industry experience, anytime you are teaching, you realize that your approach is quite different. The students are better able to appreciate because you bring industry perspective and you blend it with theoretical perspective. So at the end of the day, the student is well equipped. So that is another challenge that ought to be addressed in my respective view.
Right.
Okay.
I see. You mentioned quite a number of things. I wish we could touch on every one of them one after the other, but I'm sure we will do that as we go on in the conversation. First of all, you talk about the lack of planning that has been able to account you for a long time in terms of unemployment. Maybe we can throw some more light on that. What do you mean? What would a planning look like if we were doing that?
You see, let me give you practical example, and it is our nature. Unfortunately, we need to be frank with our weakness, and that will help us to be able to leapfrog going into the future. Look, even look at the Tema motorway. At the time it was constructed, it's the population from Tema, those who move from, even right from Sogakope down to Accra, that uses the Tema, have a few. But you see the population now, and over the period, we have failed to expand that particular facility. Just as an example, now let's come to what we're discussing now. The population started growing, from the 5 million, the 7 million, 10 million, and then we realized, if you consider the demographics, you realize that you will now have young people, going to school, the population, you're having young people in the population. But over the period, we failed to have a deliberate policy to be able to accommodate that and take advantage of this young population that is coming on board. In fact, one of the things that if we want to stretch the analysis is that when we change our educational system from the traditional O level and A level, we move to the SS level, where now the number of years people spend in school is less, and people are able to complete the university at a younger age, ready for the job market.
Yeah.
There was not a corresponding industrial policy, so to speak. So people spend almost about 7 years, even at the secondary school level, 5-year O level, 2, A level, 7, university 3, making 10. And you have reduced that. That should inform you that, look, you will now have more people now coming up from the universities. How are we expanding industry? What policy do we have? Are we having on board to be able to assist in the industry to expand production capacity? That we feel as a people and as a nation. So what we do as a people is that we are not proactive, we are reactive. We wake up today and we realize that this is our problem. Then we have to look for a policy and fix it somehow. So over the period, and then you will see today as we speak, there are so many countries in Europe that the population is aging, and they are planning how they can even attract young people elsewhere to be able to support the labor market. So that is a practical example of people who are futuristic and who are thinking about the future.
Right.
In our case, and in Africa, not only peculiar to Ghana, that is our nature. So I think it is never too late. Now that we have realized the situation, how do we quickly, look at industry in terms of industrial expansion, etc., etc. We'll be talking about it, but in terms of the practical approach, we are not yet there. And another thing also to be able to address unemployment in the situation is about taking vocational and technical education on a more serious note and somehow shift. And that's the reason which I personally wasn't happy where people were crying at the technical universities now, which are the polytechnics.
Should we change to universities?
Degree, and then so now the whole thing is like the bookish again. If you conduct a research, pick any of the technical universities, you realize people who are studying the business and other social sciences are more than the technical students there.
That's true.
So that's the failure. That's something that ought to be addressed. Pick a typical technical university. There's no mechanic shop on their campus. Yet they are training people on mechanical engineering. Lecturers have problem with their cars, they go outside to fix it. They are training people on the hospitality industry, those days. Yet they do not have a restaurant, a standard restaurant that I can drive. You can drive there. So I'm going to Accra Technical University and have a nice, creating jobs and teaching the students a practical experience. We don't have it. So we need to pay a recourse to our educational system, our national planning system as a people. And as we do that, so now that the problem is staring us, they will not be able to solve it within the 4, 5, 8 years. But if we have a consistent plan over a period, after a decade, you will see that we will be in a better position to address some of these gaps. So that's the reason which I indicated that lack of planning over the period has been one of the critical issues affecting unemployment in Ghana.
I see. Right. You also talk about something very important a while ago. I mean, you talked about the fact that the research is good in the schools, in the universities, but the skills are more important, so there should be a blend. One will argue that some lecturers actually bring industry people to the classrooms to teach. Isn't that enough?
That is good, but that is not enough. Okay. Once in a while, you bring people 2 hours to come and talk. Yeah, I'm talking about. No, let me give you a practical example. I went to IPS, now University of Professional Studies, and the man who taught me accounting by then was the head of account department of 10 SSB Bank, now Societe Generale. And it is clear in his approach when he's teaching. And let me also give you another person who taught me practicing accounting and this is Eric Osai, now the CEO of the Chartered Institute of Accountants Ghana. So fantastic when he's teaching you, bringing industry on board and blending it with academia. And at that time I was doing accounting, I didn't do accounting at the secondary school. But because of his approach, I love it, and I was even better than the students who did accounting at the whole thing. So what I'm saying is that the faculty should be able to have the blend. Okay. Now, let me give you a practical example. If you pick any typical university outside, even though the person is a professor lecturer, but he's also a consultant, handling some practical consulting for multinational companies. So he's having both.
Yeah.
And when such a professor is teaching you, the result is different from somebody who is look. Recently, I was doing the program, and because of my rich industrial experience, so at the end of the day, respectfully, I approached the lecturer when we finished, and I was telling him ABCD, this is how it is, and he really loved it. Okay, he told me, he's a pure academic. Okay, so the university are doing that is very good, but as a developing nation, that we want to tap the potential of our natural human resources. My respective view is that we should have a faculty that is blend. Okay, please, are you appreciating that?
I get the point.
Even as a lawyer, look, let me give you an example. Even as a lawyer, if you see a serious practicing lawyer teaching you certain law subjects, the appreciation is different from a person who is not into serious
practice, right?
That is there, and this thing we cannot run away from this fact. So what they are doing is very good. I'm only adding on that if we add this to it, it will be in a better position to produce more highly skilled human capital.
Right. Okay, Lawyer Prempeh, please hold on for me. Briefly, let me announce the phone lines in case anybody is listening to us and they want to join the conversation. So if you just tune in, this is Business Breakfast on Z101.9 FM with me, Nicho Hammond. And this morning we're talking about youth vulnerability and the future of Ghana's labor market. And one of my guests is Lawyer Enim Prempeh. He's an economist and also a private legal practitioner. And we're also going to be we're also joined by a labor expert, and he's also going to share his thoughts with us. His name is Dr. Aaron Kuma, and he will be sharing his thoughts with us shortly. But you can join a conversation on our social media platforms. We are on Facebook at ZFMGH. We're streaming live, and also on YouTube at Z Multimedia. You can visit those platforms, drop a comment under the live stream, and we will read them for you. You can also send us a WhatsApp on 0544321019, 0544321019, or you can call us on 03039566641, 03039566641, and then we give you the opportunity to be part of the conversation this morning. All right, so we have some other things to touch on. Lawyer Enim Prempe, we're going to talk about the effect, what does it actually does to the economy, all the unemployment situation, what is the effect on the economy. We're also going to touch on some of the structural issues, some of the things that we need to do as a country to actually deal with this particular problem. And so, Prempe, if you are still with me, I want to know, so this unemployment, underemployment, skills mismatch, what is the effect of that on the economy? Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, great. I think we have Dr. Kuma now on the lines. And so let me just go to Dr. Kuma and then I come back to you. Dr. Kuma, welcome back to the Business Breakfast on Z.
Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, so we started a conversation. We're talking about the unemployment situation in town, in the country. I want to know your initial reaction. What is the labor market looking like today? You are a labor expert. Tell us what that's look like, the labor issue, the youth vulnerability, what it looks like in the labor market today.
Okay, thank you very much. And good morning to you and your listeners and viewers, and to my colleague on the other side, lawyer. Let me put it this way, that as a country, we don't have any well-developed plan for purpose of creating jobs or serving the youth. So it looks like our education system, our industry activities or industrial activities all put together, there's no defined system where the youth will know that this is where I can get my profession executed or any other thing. But so what is happening is you go through the system, and then when you are lucky, you find a job, and then that's all. If you are not lucky, then you live in the system as unemployed, and until maybe a time comes when you get lucky and then you fix yourself. So when somebody even complete school or any trade, he doesn't know when and how he will find job. That's the challenge we have as a country for now.
I see. So maybe if you can give us, what are the figures in terms of unemployment and all of that, if you have?
You see, in the last check, when the last time the Statistical Service developed unemployment rate, they pegged it at 14.2% thereabouts. So it looks like since then they have not come up with any defined number.
Okay.
So we would have to take the 14 to be our yardstick for measuring the unemployed situation. But mind you, this is just a matter of, because in Ghana here, our Statistical Service, the way they work, how they get the figures and other things in respect of unemployment, sometimes it baffles, because you don't know where, how. There are a whole lot of people who have completed school, walk around, and some are even doing jobs. They will claim they don't do jobs. So it looks like unemployment, you don't need Statistical Service or any figures to define that. You can see from just your observation of the people. When you go to communities, when you look around towns, and you check about the way the young men and ladies move around during the day without having any particular thing doing, I can tell you, it gives a gross picture of how the unemployment situation looks like in the country.
Right.
Yes, that's a challenge.
That's a challenge. Okay, so I mean, you talked early on about the planning also, and I think it's the same thing that lawyer Enim Prempe also spoke about, the fact that we don't have a plan in place that is actually helping us create more jobs and all of that. But let me come to you, lawyer Enim Prempe. I want to know, what is the effect of this on the economy?
Right, thank you very much. Let me take the effect in two folds. Starting the effect first on those who are even working. As we all know, almost of us, our income levels is not anything to write home about. And you have dependents who you took care of them through sacrifices, and now they are out of the tertiary institution, and they are still depending on you. And you appreciate that what it means is that with your limited income, they are still on you. So it will affect your income level. So you're expecting affect the ability of government to be able to generate sufficient revenue from taxation. Let's assume all these people are working and they are paying their taxes, income tax. So what it means is that government is going to have more income tax, and that will help grow the GDP as a whole.
Yeah.
Now, they went to school, government spent some money on them, and they've been trained. And we expect that human capital to contribute towards the development of the country. And they are lying idle. No, they have certain technical sets or certain training that if you stay home for a number of years, you become rusty, or you may even forget some of the things that you have. By the time you get a job, it will take them more time to train you, and that is cost to the company. And so in terms of taking advantage of our human capital to be able to grow the economy, we are not yet there. It's also, apart from the economic implications, so unemployment leading to low GDP growth, affecting the revenue generation of government, and then the ability to grow the competence level of the nation is not there. It also has a psychological aspect. Look, if you're out of job, or you've completed school for 3 years, 4 years, you are not getting job, psychologically it affects you. It's because we are not taking our mental health in this country seriously. But these are some of the things that, and that's the reason which in advanced economies they have some kind of subsidies for people who have completed school and they are not working, and then to be able to keep them alive. Okay, so it is a very serious issue. Let me give you an empirical example. What happened just last year when the military, were calling on people to apply. You see the number of people and what happened. It's giving us a message. And it is a time bomb. Okay, youth unemployment is a national security issue. And if you don't have plan and you don't know how to address it one day, it takes only a day. It is only grace that is keeping us. Not that we are unique, not that we are doing anything serious as a nation in terms of planning. Okay, it is grace, God's grace that is keeping this nation. And it takes only a day. So the managers of the economy must learn from that and begin to put out mechanisms to ensure, And another aspect is the brain drain that we are seeing. Most of our graduates would prefer to go do cleaning in Europe and then the US rather than contributing to the development of the country. Why should you spend money to train people? And the success of any nation is highly dependent on the human capital, not on the raw natural resources that you have. Okay, because it's that knowledge that's going to transform the natural resources and grow the economy.
Right.
So these are the economic implications going forward, and I trust that the political leadership will learn from it and come out. The managers of the economy will come up with policies that will ensure that we create jobs and opportunities, and not only jobs, but creating the enabling environment where people can start something on their own. That is the entrepreneurship all of us have been preaching about. That it doesn't happen in a vacuum. There must be a pillar, supporting pillars to anchor that, and that is what is not seen on the ground. And it is my hope that the managers of the economy will look in that direction. And support the growth of this state here.
Right. When you talk about political leadership and also the government, I'm going to come back to you on that particular point shortly. But let me go to Dr. Kumar. Now, Doc, we often hear about unemployment, but underemployment is less talked about. How serious is underemployment among young people in Ghana, from where you sit as a labor expert?
When we talk of underemployment, what we mean is a person not satisfied with a job or not getting a kind of job he is expected to do. Then we say the person is underemployed. But in real sense, had it not been underemployed situation in Ghana, our situation would have been worse.
So you mean underemployment is actually what is saving us even?
It is what is saving us, because there are a lot of people who have just completed their trade or education, having certificates for postgraduates and others, and they are still helping their parents to work in their shop, on their farms and other places, so that they can keep life going. And these are people who need real job to perform, but they keep it like that, and so that they can survive. And that is what is keeping the country going. A lawyer was talking about the fact that we are on time bomb. It's serious. And so if the government needs to do something, he would rather have to support the individual who have established smaller businesses and others, so that they can expand their business, make it work, and then create job for those who are underemployed or even unemployed completely, so that the country can survive along the line. It's a critical issue. As for underemployed, a lot of young men and women are underemployed in their community, in their homes, and that's a critical issue. But that is the one that is saving us from all those of social vices and other activities.
So you're saying that in as much as it's a problem, underemployment generally, globally is a problem. But in as much as it's a problem, we are better off with that than unemployment entirely. Is that what you mean?
Yes, because when the person is even underemployed, not satisfied with the job, that person will still be going to work. That person will have something to do. That person is always busy with an action or an activity. So the level of lying idle, going to think about social vice activity and other things will just go off the person's mind. And so the person will always be actively thinking about something doing. But imagine somebody gets up in the morning, has no job, nothing, no food, live on. So if the person is in a house, in front of his house, somebody is passing with money, what do you think will happen? So the underemployed situation is not the best, but that is keeping the country going. There are a whole lot of gamut of youth that have completed their trade, education, and other things, and they are still in their home helping parents, helping family members, doing their menial jobs, and that is keeping the country going.
Is that to say that we should settle for that?
We cannot, because you see, I was saying something. Even those of us who are working, earning, let's say, a living wage. What is our level of lifestyle? What do we do? How do we manage ourselves? It's difficult. Likewise, somebody who is underemployed or unemployed, you see the situation. So we cannot say that, underemployed is keeping us safe as a country, working. A lot of people are getting job and so as underemployed, and it is okay for them. So no, we cannot settle for less as a country. The unfortunate aspect is that there has never been any defined strategy or plan set up as a country to solve the unemployment situation in the country. And I don't know when and how we want to attempt doing that. And that's the biggest challenge we have as a country.
I see. All right. Let me come back to lawyer Enim Prempeh. Now, lawyer, you were talking about political leadership and also the unemployment situation. Sorry, the employment situation. I want us to talk about that briefly. How much responsibility lies with the private sector to create jobs versus the government?
Yes, thank you very much. You know, the basic contemporary economic model is now using the private sector as the engine of growth. And you realize I don't know if you recall, you rewind your mind backwards right from when President Kufuor took over. You remember golden age of business, private sector being the engine of growth, and then subsequently almost every government talking about the private sector being the engine of growth. But the point is that the private sector cannot function without the political leadership support.
Yeah.
Okay. What policy they're in on the ground that deliberately, and it must be deliberate policy. Nations that have developed, they have a deliberate policy to support the private sector, because it is the private sector that can create sustainable jobs and give sustainable incomes, that people appreciate, just like Doc indicated. That will move them from underemployment to a full-scale employment, so to speak. Okay, so there must be a deliberate plan in that particular direction. So government might support them in terms of capital, in terms of technical know-how. But if you look at it now, one of the areas which the political leadership is not addressing over the period has to do with the over-reliance on importation of goods that we have competitive urge of producing. And the reason, in my respective opinion, is that people who are operating in that space, importing the rice and those kind of things that we have a competitive edge of producing, are highly connected to political parties, so to speak. And they are political party financiers. So political party, a government comes on board, speak about added value to our produce, and they are unable to practically take steps to address that because of this issue. And that is the reason why the political leadership comes to play. In other nations, they deliberately support even their private sector to go out and look for market elsewhere. That's the reason which you see so many countries coming to Ghana for trade shows and then the workshop and ABCD. I recall years that the AGI, that's Ghana Association of Industry, went to China. They were looking for about 2 billion or so for their members. Okay, and the Chinese government was asking for a sovereign guarantee. You know, in our so the thing is that how do you support your private sector? Okay, and to me, it is not about general providing the general support. You must be strategic about that. You look at the private sector, key areas that are able to anchor the economy and create jobs as quickly as possible, and you deliberately support them. In fact, I must also admit that there has been some interventions over the years to support the private sector. But the point is that at the end of the day, those interventions end up in the pockets of political affiliates. One of them is the Maslow to support small-scale enterprises, okay? But we all know the end result. It ends up to political supporters who do not have a table, let alone the space in the market to sell, you know. So the political leadership and the deliberate approach of subsequent governments to support the system is what is failing us. And I'm of the view, respectfully, that the sustenance of our democracy is largely anchored to what we are discussing today. Okay? And if we are unable to do something about it, it may not be too good for the country going into the near future.
I see. Do you think that it's the problem is a matter of the lack of data to actually track? I mean, when you go to the West, you look at US, for instance, they can tell you that in this particular month, we were able to create maybe an X number of jobs. Last month, we did this. The target for next year is so and so number. But in our part of the world, we only say that, oh, we are doing this particular initiative, and it's going to, or say when we are building this particular school, it's going to create 5,000 jobs. At the end of the day, we don't even know where the jobs went or whether that was realized, and we all move on with our life. Do you think that data is actually one of the reasons why we are unable to tell where the jobs are coming from and whether they even exist in the first place?
I perfectly agree with you that data is one of the key things, because I recently, when I was doing my LLM in labor law, these are some of the issues that cropped up, finding the data, especially with the gig economy, in the informal sector. It appears we do not have data on the informal sector. So we do not know what happens in the informal sector. And if you don't have a data, number one, it's very difficult to plan and come up with policies that will work for the people in the informal sector, and also to benefit from the informal sector as a government. We do not have that data. In fact, let me even give you an example. Here, maybe I may enter into the space of dog. Our universities, they are only able to tell. If I get to the peak, then they will say that, oh, this guy is an alumni of the University of Ghana, University of Cape Coast. But as it stands now, test it, and then the number of students that they produce for the past 2 years, they should be able to tell us where they are working. They do not have that data. There must be a deliberate attempt, even by the universities, to track the performance of their graduates. That we don't have it. So data is data is a modern currency. If you don't have data, you can't plan. If you don't have data, you can't develop. Okay? So it's one of our biggest problems, and that is a fact. Okay? I think when Doc was doing his analysis, he touched on Ghana Statistical Service and their latest unemployment data that they are doing very well. But in terms of the capacity, supporting them with the logistical resources to be able to, effectively discharge their mandate, it's not there. And one of the things I've realized, I may be wrong, but I think from my own observation and research, it's realized that in Africa, especially in this part of our world, we don't pay attention to knowledge. And it is the knowledge that will help you grow. Right. So we even have companies, as we have visited, that they will not even invest into the universities to help them conduct research to be able to. But they will support entertainment because they want quick returns. They will support any entertainment show that will attract the crowd. But you go there, that you are going to conduct a research to be able to know what the investors are really doing and help them. They will support it. Government will support it. So if you don't pay keen attention to knowledge, let me give you, years ago I was reading something about the United Kingdom, that they realized that their young people now are not willing to study to the highest level They want to go into sports and entertainment. So what they are doing now, especially those people don't want you to go into the sciences, medicine, engineering.
Yeah.
They are paying people to be able to take those courses. And that is nations that are serious. In our case, we are just there thinking that one day everything will work for us. But success is a deliberate approach. Growing your nation, you should be deliberate about it. You should be why people are even planning how they can cripple us as a people and to become economic slaves to them and exploited. We are not even planning of how we can even manage the small one that we have. So that is to tell you that, in summary, we don't pay attention to epistemology knowledge. And you'll see, if you have a lawyer, let me give you an example. If a businessman is going to negotiate with a Chinese businessman, you tell him, can't pay me this amount of money to be able to go through your contract and say, he won't. He thinks that he's going to dash money to you. He only wait when it's in trouble before you will engage the services of a lawyer or an accountant.
Right.
So it's a constant something that we need to deconstruct as a people.
Okay.
And my view, respectfully, is that if we are able to do that, then we should be on the path to growing this nation and changing our narratives.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much, lawyer Enim Prempe. Let me come to you, Dr. Kuma. Doc, do you have anything to add to what lawyer just said?
Yeah. What I wanted to add was that you see, lawyer was talking about UK when they wanted to divert from education to entertainment. The country brought them to line. When you go to Singapore, they are able to detect children from their base level. At the younger age, psychologists can decide what the child will be doing, and then they cut a career path for you. In our part of the world, it looks like everything goes. Our education system, the way it's structured, said that we teach anything at all, just like that. We don't have any well-defined process for making sure that, when somebody is going through education, this is the process that he has to go through. You see, we are a country where a large number of people are entrepreneurs. But we, at the basic level, from primary all the way to senior high, we don't teach entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship has become something like at the university, let a student go and do one semester course as entrepreneur. That's all. But entrepreneurship is something we should be going through critically for all our years, so that by the time the child goes, he understands the nitty-gritty of running a business. Because every Ghanaian wants to establish business of his or her own. But that is not the case. That is not what we learned at school. So you see, anytime people open businesses, by the time they fall sick, get some incapacitation, or even die, the business collapses. We were here, and since Adam, America, Japan, Europe individuals have established it has started the test of time. Toyota established Toyota, with his friend. But the Toyota has been number of years, over 100 years, and they are still working. Cocoa Transport and coal companies have collapsed since they died. So this is the challenge we have as a country.
I see.
This is a challenge we have as a country. Our education system needs to be properly structured in such a way that it will guide the people. So sometimes when you go to most of the developed countries, children don't go to the high level like university. They finish with college and they can do anything. But here, when you even finish with senior high, sometimes you seem to be like nobody. You don't know anything. When we handle you with job, you can't do. So we need to think about it. Right. In our educational system, need a revision, a critical revision. Somewhere along the line, the previous government started with STEM education. It's not the end. It must be a starting point. Entrepreneurship education must be added critically as a base, so that everyone will really understand how to run a business. After all, when somebody becomes a medical doctor, after some years, he becomes administrator of the institution. He more or less become an entrepreneur. So entrepreneur is the basic thing that we should be doing with every facet of our education system. So this is how we can do to develop our country.
And I think it should be practical as well. It shouldn't just be added to the curriculum, because that is what we've seen
practical.
over there.
Look, let me give you an example. Nigeria. There's no way in Nigeria you can start a shop without going through apprenticeship training. Nigeria. So every child, if you want to be a trader, you have to go through a shop to be trained by minimum 5 to 7 years. By the time you are being trained, Your boss will set up capital for you after you have completed the training program, and he see that you now can be on your own. Then he will set you up by giving you a capital. Nigeria, our not your neighbor.
Right.
That's how they. So even the boys that are selling phone, phone accessories
and all of
with a bicycle wheel, yeah, they are all apprentices. So why can't we also take certain actions? We need, as a country, we need deliberate actions to sustain the economy, to grow businesses, and to create jobs. But there's no deliberate action. There's no action plan that has been set for that purpose. And if we don't do that, the unemployed situation, we are even lucky that a lot of people can go abroad and work. Had it not been that where they send remittances, the situation would have been worse.
Right. Okay, Doc, thank you very much. So let me announce the phone lines one more time. If you just tune in, this is a Business Breakfast on Z101.9 FM with me, Nichwebi Hammond. And this morning we're talking about the youth vulnerabilities and the future of the labor market. My guests are lawyer Enim Prempe, who is an economist and a private legal practitioner, and also Dr. Kuma, who is a labor expert, and these are the two individuals I'm speaking with this morning right here on the show. You can join the conversation on our social media platforms. We're streaming live on Facebook at ZFMGH and also on YouTube at Z Multimedia. Please visit those platforms and drop a comment there. We'll read them for you. Also, you can send us a WhatsApp on 0544321019, 0544321019. You can send a voice note as well, and we'll play that for you. All right, let's continue the conversation. And we've talked about the structural issues. We know that there are issues with the educational system. We know that the skills mismatch. We talked about that earlier. We also talked about the fact that government must support private sector and all of that. Now, I want us to look at the emerging trends and the future of work. And I'm coming to you, lawyer Enim Prempe. How is automation, digitalization, and AI affecting the type of jobs that are available today for young people?
Right. Thank you very much. It appears more people are becoming interested in AI and the technology-related stuff, okay, which is very good. In my studies, one of the things that we realized that, as I indicated earlier, the our labor law assistance now couldn't anticipate the emergence of technology and AI, so there was no deliberate policy in terms of protection for those who work in that particular space. You know, there are so many people here working in Ghana here for multinationals, IT firms online. The problem is that there's no protection for them. When I'm talking about protection, even security in terms of the money that is paid to them, they are underpaid, okay? And we do not even know the number of people who are even participating in that particular space. You know, so what I'm told is that the revision of the labor act that is ongoing, they want to make provision for the gig economy. Those working with these multinationals. Okay, if there are some labor issues, how do we address that? Which law is going to, because they are here working, but they are working for multinationals. So in terms of labor liability and other related matters, who should be held responsible? I think if we now have law to protect that space, they will not be exploited. But as it stands now, so many people have been exploited. So many, you know, those working with the AI system, some of them are exposed to certain data and certain information that may not even be, considering their age, may not even be too good for them. But there's no considerable allowance to compensate them for that. Some of them work overtime, and then they are not welcome. So, for example, I see a young person, maybe at the age of 25, working with an IT firm in the USA, they be paid $50 per hour. One in Ghana may be paid $15 per hour. You see the gap. How do we protect that particular space? So it is a space that we can exploit, because almost what they call the Gen Z generation, they are so much infused with technology. I think, to my mind, it's one of the sectors, it's one of the areas that government can also exploit to create more jobs for the people. So that we must have the law to back them. We must have the law to protect them so that they are not overly exploited. And we must ensure that we take advantage of the emergence of technology to create more sustainable jobs for the people.
Right. So you talked about the gig economy. I want to come to Dr. Kuma. So with the gig economy, I mean, we know that it's grown significantly. Today we see ride hailing, Uber, Bolt, and all of these things. We've seen some online freelancing, people working on graphic design from Ghana for people outside, and all of that. Is this a sustainable solution for youth employment? Dr. Kuma.
Well, it's part. It can support us in that direction. As a country, we cannot rely on external support to create jobs for our people. The question also is, to what extent the level of people who are adapt with the technology. If you take our educational curriculum and strategy, you will see that those who are IT experts are few. They are not as many and large because of the nature of our educational system. If you take most of the schools in the peri-urban and rural communities, there are sometimes you go to a whole school and there's no computer lab. Teachers go to classroom and use artifacts to demonstrate computer application processes to students. And so it may not be the only solution to the problem. The government needs to really pick it up, look at areas that are also more critical to expand the economy. Look at areas that are more critical to expand the economy. Said that you see, I was with a certain professor in Sweden, and he told me, so this is somewhere 2014, and he told me something that we in Ghana here, and for that matter Africa, we've missed the development quotient. And he said, what we have missed is that they developed from agrarian economy and then move it to processing, and they have looked at it and advanced. But we want to advance without going through the process. So there are so many areas that as a country we can tap into and take advantage of so that people can help us in that direction. We can help people in that direction for them to grow from there. And it's not just only technology. So we can't look at only one side of the coin and create job for people. We need to look at every length of breadth of the economy that can provide an advantage for people to create a living for themselves.
I see. All right. Our time is up, and so we have to go. I wish we could have spoken about some of the initiatives we've done as a country. We've heard of NAPCO and some of these things in the past and all of that. I wanted us to talk about whether it is something whether they are real sustainable opportunities or whether they are some temporary fixes. Maybe in 30 seconds, if lawyer Inim Prempe, if you can just touch on that briefly from where you sit as an economist.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, there were initiatives that, in my view, quite progressive, but it was as a result of a reactive measure to the situation because of the lack of planning we discussed earlier. When you are coming out with when you are reacting to a situation, you are able to come out with policy that will last or will be potent, so to speak. So those initiatives were quite, in my view, okay. But there again, the political interference is also one of the key factors. So, for instance, if there's a youth unemployment initiative to exploit, and the first thing they would like to find out is your political affiliation. So, the politics of the day is also not helping the full implementation of those policies. But we need, as a nation, we need to go into the future and come out with a policy. There are models around. We could learn from others who are doing very well and come out with one, but by law, with less political interference. Let's get people with expertise to manage such institutions. And my view is that if that is done, we should be able to address the situation.
Okay.
But to answer your very specific one, they are just a partial solution to the situation that we have at hand.
Okay, right. They are partial solutions. Okay, right. Maybe finally, as we try to wrap up, let me come to you, Dr. Kuma. Now, Dr. Kuma, tell me, if you were advising a young person who is listening to us this morning, who is now entering the labor market, what should they focus on? Is this skills? Is it mindset, or maybe some strategy or something?
Okay, thank you very much. But to support what lawyer was saying. I think let's take a NAPCO as an example. I was of the view that when NAPCO even came, they should have made a policy as a country that if any public institution, there is a NAPCO staff and you want employment, they should be the first people to contact and employ them, engage them. So everyone who completes university will then be chasing to undergo through the NAPCO system so that he knows for sure that when he gets to job, they will be the first to be appointed. But that didn't happen. The political actions of the politicians are not the best to this country. Okay, so now let me go to the extent of support, helping or advising young persons who have just completed their trade. I'm not talking about education, I'm talking about trade. Trade means you have done through a professional activity, whether you went to school, you learn apprenticeship, and then you become successful and you are now going to the labor market. You need to have the first thing that you need to have in mind is integrity. Integrity. Be sincere to people you work with, people you come across, people you engage, so that any particular day in time that you go, anywhere that you go, you will be giving a free testimony about yourself, so that you yourself can help you sell your name and your activities to the world. Learn a skill. Apart from the fact that you have acquired knowledge, now the world is changing to the extent that if you don't have a skill, any skill-based activity, getting a job by yourself and doing it is difficult. Even when you have an established business by yourself, you need to go through a skill process. So anything that you are being taught, take it very critical and serious, and make sure that nowadays we are also in a technological world. So almost all technology advancement that are emerging, young people should embrace it and think about it, and take it as part of their life, so that they can also make a living. The world where the world has gone to, if you are not technologically savvy, it's going to be difficult for you in the coming years.
That's true, right?
And let me make a correction here. I am Dr. Kuma, a senior lecturer at Apia Minka University. So it's very important. So when you call me, remind, because my school, they always expect me to mention my school name whenever I go on radio or television. Thank you very much.
Right, all right. So his name is Dr. Aaron Kuma. He's a senior labor lecturer at Apia Minka University. All right. Yes. Thank you very much. Maybe finally, lawyer Enim Prempeh. So what is the single most urgent action that you think that we should take as a country to reduce the youth vulnerability in the labor market? Maybe in 30 seconds, respectfully.
Right. To start with, we have to government must quickly engage the private sector and find out areas where they can quickly create jobs, and also government must equally also come out with any support mechanism that will ensure that people who have been unemployed over a number of years are one way or the other supported. It's quite a difficult thing having an immediate solution, but I think we can start from there, and then going forward, we will be able to roll out policies that will ensure that we expand to the economy that will benefit almost everybody, but not those at the top.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, lawyer. Really grateful that the two of you joined me. I think it's been a very good conversation. I'm really grateful that you made time to join me.
It's a pleasure having you.
All right. Okay. So those were my guests for today. Lawyer Enim Prempeh. Lawyer Enim Prempeh is an economist, and he's also a private legal practitioner. His name is Lawyer Daniel Enim Prempeh, and also Dr. Aaron Kuma. He's a senior labor lecturer at Apia Minka University. These are the two gentlemen who joined me this morning talking about youth vulnerability and the future of Ghana's labor market. It's been a very good conversation, and I'm sure that you've picked a thing or two. I hope that we're able to deal with these things. We've explored why so many young people or young Ghanaians actually struggle to find meaningful work, the challenges of unemployment and underemployment, and the growing impact of technology and the gig economy, and what both government and the private sector can do to create real opportunities. Once again, a huge thank you to my guests, Lawyer thank you to them for sharing their insights and helping us understand the data, the trends, and the reality on the ground. So for young people who are listening to us this morning, please remember that the future of work is not just about jobs that exist today, but the skills that you need, adaptability, the strategy thinking that will allow you to thrive tomorrow. And for everyone who is interested in Ghana's growth, parents, business community, policymakers, the question remains whether we are preparing our youth for the challenges or the opportunities ahead, and whether we will continue to watch potential go untapped. So thank you very much for listening to us, or for joining this conversation right from 6:15 till now. We're back again tomorrow for more interesting conversations. Until then, keep listening to Z101.9 FM. My name is Nietzsche Ebi Hammond. Up next is The Brighter Side with Jeremy Okori Amwako. And when you think Ghana, please think Z. I'll see you tomorrow.